good. Let it burn. Let everything you thought you were turn to ash, because the life you had was built on illusions, on approval, on people who clapped for you while secretly hoping you would never outgrow them. You call it your past. I call it a controlled cage, soft walls, familiar pain, predictable disappointment. They didn't break you by accident. They shaped you to stay small. Every insult you laughed off, every betrayal you forgave too fast, every time you chose peace just to avoid being alone, brick by brick, you helped build the prison. And the worst part, you decorated it. You called it loyalty. You called it love. You called it patience. It was fear. Fear of standing by yourself with no applause, no validation, no one telling you you're good enough. So you shrank. You softened your voice. You hid your hunger. You let people step over you, so you wouldn't have to step over them. And where did that get you? Alone anyway. That's the joke life plays on the knave. You sacrifice your power to keep people, and they still leave. You bleed for them, and they still betray you. You stay loyal, and they still replace you. In the end, you lose them in yourself. Good, because that loss is your fire. Most people waste their pain. They cry, they beg, they scroll. These civilized people, they distract themselves with noise so they don't have to sit in the silence of what really happened. But a very few, sit in the ashes, quiet, still. People watching everything they believe burn to the ground. That's where empires are born. Not in comfort, not in love, not in support. Empires rise from humiliation, from rejection, from nights where you stare at the ceiling and feel the weight of every memory pressing on your chest. Moments where your chest is tight, your jaw is clenched. People and your mind keeps replaying the same betrayal like a broken film. That replay is not torture. It's training. Every time you relive it, you see clearer. The fake smile, the subtle disrespect. The moment you knew something was wrong, but ignored it because you didn't want to lose them. You weren't blind, you were afraid to see. Now you see everything, and clarity is dangerous. Because once you truly see, you can't go back to being soft in the same way. The illusion of people being naturally good dies. The fantasy that loyalty is always returned dies. The belief that love protects you from pain dies. What replaces it is something colder, sharper, more controlled, awareness. You start to understand a simple truth. Nobody is coming to save you. These civilized people, not financially, not mentally. Every time you depended on someone to complete you, you handed them a weapon, and sooner or later they used it. That realization hurts. It feels like loneliness, like isolation, like you're standing in a wide, empty field with no one beside you. But look again. That's not emptiness, that's space. Space to rebuild yourself without interference. People. Space to grow without being trimmed down to make others comfortable. Space to without someone else's fear infecting your decisions. This is the moment weak people run back to old lives. They text the person who disrespected them. People. They go back to the job that drained them. They rejoin the circle that talked about them behind their back. Why? Because pain they know feels safer than power they don't. You are not most people. You're still here. Still listening, still sitting in the fire. Good. Because the ashes of your past are not evidence of failure. They are raw material. Burnt dreams become fuel. Broken trust becomes wisdom. Loneliness becomes independence. Every scar becomes armor. But only if you stop trying to rebuild the old life. That version of you had to die. The one who needed approval, dead. The one who over-explained, dead. The one who tolerated disrespect to avoid conflict. Dead. Mourn them if you have to, then bury them. Because your empire cannot be built by the same mind that built your prison. You need a new identity. Not angrier, colder, more precise. You stop reacting. You start observing. You watch how people talk when they want something. You notice how quickly love changes when you say no. You see how people test boundaries with small acts of disrespect before bigger ones. You stop giving instant trust. Trust becomes earned slowly, carefully. You become less available. Not out of arrogance, out of discipline. Your time is no longer a public resource. Your energy is no longer free. People. Your attention is no longer handed out to anyone who shows temporary interest. You guard your focus like a weapon, because it is. This is where people start calling you different, cold, changed. They're right. You change because pain forced evolution. The old you was built for survival inside a small world of emotional dependency. The new you is being built for control over your own world. That requires distance. Distance from people who only know how to use you. Distance from environments that shrink your ambition. Distance from habits that keep you weak. Overthinking, oversharing, overgiving. You begin to enjoy silence. Not the silence of loneliness, but the silence of strategy. Less talking, more building. While others are explaining their plans, you are executing yours in the dark. That's how real power grows. Quietly, no announcements. No motivational speeches to friends who secretly hope you fail. No begging for support. You move in silence because noise attracts opinions, and opinions slow progress. Your pain becomes private. Your goals become sacred. Your circle becomes smaller. Your standards become higher. And slowly, something changes inside you. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? You start asking, what is this preparing me for? That question shifts everything. Now every betrayal becomes a lesson in reading people. Every rejection becomes redirection. Every lonely night becomes mental conditioning. You are not being punished. You are being hardened. Soft hearts build fragile lives. Hardened minds build empires. This doesn't mean you lose all emotion. It means your emotions no longer control your decisions. You feel the pain, but you don't let it steer the wheel. You feel the anger, but you turn it into discipline, not destruction. That's the difference between a victim and a ruler. Victims ask for fairness. Rulers create leverage. You start building skills instead of seeking sympathy. You work when you don't feel like it. You improve your body, your mind, your finances, your discipline, not to impress people, to never need them the same way again. Independence is the ultimate revenge, not screaming, not arguing, not proving them wrong with words, but outgrowing the version of you they had access to. becoming someone they can no longer reach, manipulate, or replace. One day, they will look at you and say, "You changed." And you will know the truth. You didn't change. You finally became who pain was trying to introduce you to all along. Good. Because this is where most people quit. They love the idea of transformation. They love the fantasy of rising from the ashes. But they don't love the process. They don't love the isolation that comes with growth. People, they don't love the quiet nights where no one checks on them, no one claps for them, and no one understands what they're becoming. This stage feels empty. You've cut people off. You've stopped oversharing. You've pulled your energy back. But the empire isn't built yet. The results aren't visible. From the outside, it looks like you disappeared. From the inside, it feels like you're walking alone through a long, dark tunnel with no clear end. This is the test, because the old life still whispers to you. Comfort, distraction, temporary validation, pull. A text from someone who hurt you, an invite from people who only like the weaker version of you. Memories that make you question if you're being too harsh, too distant, too cold. People, that's not your heart talking. That's your addiction to familiarity. Painful patterns are still patterns. Bull. Your mind would rather go back to a known cage than stay in an unfamiliar freedom, at least in the cage. You knew the rules. Out here, you're writing them yourself. That responsibility feels heavy. Good. People. Weight builds strength. You have to understand something most people never do. Growth is not just about gaining. It's about tolerating loss. Loss of people. Loss of identity. Loss of the version of you that fit in. You are not just building an empire. You are shedding skin. And shedding skin hurts. Because every time you level up, you outgrow someone. Sometimes it's friends. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's the person you thought you'd spend your life with. People, they don't hate you. They just can't come where you're going. Your discipline makes them uncomfortable. Your silence makes them insecure. Your ambition reminds them of everything they postponed. So they call you different, like it's an insult. Let it be. Different people change their bloodline. Average people protect their comfort. Right now, you are in psychological war with yourself, not with enemies, not with critics, with the voice in your own head that says, "Slow down. This is too much. You deserve a break. You've done enough." That voice sounds kind. It's lethal. Because it shows up right before breakthroughs, right when the old version of you is dying, and the new one isn't fully formed yet. You feel weak, uncertain, people invisible. This is where people relapse into old habits, emotional dependence, laziness, chasing attention, settling. You must learn to move forward while feeling uncertain. That's mental toughness, not confidence, not hype. Movement without emotional guarantees. Work without applause. Discipline without motivation. You do what needs to be done even when you feel, especially when you feel empty. Because emptiness is not a sign you're lost. It's a sign you've cleared space. Your mind is no longer crowded with other people's expectations. Your heart is no longer overloaded with drama. Your schedule is no longer filled with distractions disguised as relationships. Now you face yourself. No masks, no roles, no performance. That's uncomfortable. You start seeing your own flaws clearly. Your need for validation, your fear of rejection, your habit of procrastination, your tendency to escape through scrolling, talking, fantasizing instead of executing. This is where real power begins, radical self-honesty. You stop blaming your past for everything. Yes, they hurt you. Yes, you were betrayed. But now your future depends on what you do with that pain. You can weaponize it or worship it. Most people worship their pain. They talk about it. They relive it. They build their identity around being hurt. They get sympathy, attention, excuses. You use it. Every time you feel the memory of betrayal, you don't text them. You work. Every time loneliness hits, you don't beg for connection. You build skills. Every time anger rises, you don't explode. You channel it into discipline. You turn emotion into fuel. That's psychological alchemy. Turning suffering into strength. Slowly, your standards shift. You no longer chase people. You evaluate them. You no longer fear losing someone. You fear losing your focus. You no longer ask, do they like me? You ask, do they add value to my life or subtract from it? That question alone will change your circle forever. Because most connections are built on convenience, not alignment. When you start operating with purpose, casual people fall away. The ones who remain are rare. Disciplined, self-aware, ambitious. They don't need you. They choose you. That's the only kind of alliance worth having. But before you find them, you walk alone. And walking alone builds a different kind of confidence. Not loud, not performative. Quiet, stable. You don't need to prove anything because you're busy becoming something. You stop explaining yourself. When explanations are for people who have authority over you, most don't. You move based on long-term vision. People, not short-term emotions. This is where your psychology shifts from survival to strategy. You start thinking in years, not days. You delay gratification. You invest in skills that compound. Communication, discipline, emotional control, financial intelligence. You realize something powerful. The same mind that once kept you stuck can be trained to build anything. But training the mind requires suffering, boredom, repetition, routine, doing the same hard things every day with no excitement, no drama, just consistency. That's where empires are actually built, in the mundane, not the movie moments. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Nobody is coming to rescue you from this stage. No mentor will appear at the perfect time. No magical opportunity will drop into your lap because you suffered. The world doesn't reward pain. It rewards value. So you become valuable, skilled, controlled, focused, emotionally disciplined. Hard to manipulate, hard to distract, hard to replace. That transformation is invisible at first. People still see the old you. They still talk to you like you're the same. They still test your boundaries. But now you don't react. You observe. And when necessary, you walk away without speeches, without closure conversations, without dramatic exits. Silence is power when you know your worth. The struggle you're in right now is not a setback. It's a forging process. Like steel and fire, pressure and heat remove weakness. Every day you don't quit, your tolerance for discomfort increases. Things that used to break you now barely shake you. That's when you realize something. The past didn't destroy you, it selected you. Selected you for a harder path, a lonelier road. But a higher position, because not everyone is built to handle power. Power requires emotional control, detachment, the ability to make decisions that feel cold but protect your future. You are learning that now. Pain was the entrance exam, discipline is the training. Isolation is the classroom. And you are still here. Good. Now you stop surviving. Now you start building. Because everything up to this point was demolition. Pull, breaking illusions, cutting attachments, killing the weaker identity that needed permission to grow. That was destruction necessary. Brutal, cleansing. But ashes alone don't make an empire. Structure does. This is where you become intentional with your power. Not emotional power, not anger, not revenge fantasies. Real power, control over your time, your focus, your reactions, and your direction. People. You wake up and your day is no longer random. Your mornings are not ruled by notifications, messages, or other people's needs. You claim the first part of your day like territory. Silence, planning, training your body, training your mind. You move before the world starts pulling at you. That's how rulers live, not reactively, deliberately. You build routines that feel boring, but create dominance over time. While others chase excitement, you chase progress. While they look for motivation, you rely on structure. Motivation is unstable. Systems are unbreakable. You design your life like a fortress. Who gets access to you? Limited. What gets your attention? Only what builds your future. What drains you? Removed without guilt. Guilt used to control you. You felt bad saying no. You felt bad choosing yourself. You felt bad outgrowing people. That guilt was conditioning from a version of you that feared being alone. You are not afraid anymore. You understand a cold truth. Every yes to something unaligned is a no to your empire. So your no becomes clean, short, calm. No explanations. Your emotional control becomes visible now. Situations that used to trigger you don't even touch you. Disrespect. You don't argue. You adjust access. Manipulation, you don't debate. You disengage. Drama. You don't participate. You observe from distance. That emotional detachment is not emptiness, it's mastery. Because when emotions don't control you, people can't control you. They can't pull you into chaos. They can't bait you into reactions. They can't use guilt, anger, or affection to move you like a puppet. You become steady. And steady people are dangerous in a world addicted to emotional chaos. This is where your confidence changes form. It's no longer loud. You don't need to prove you're strong. People, you know it because you've survived yourself. You faced your worst thoughts, your loneliness, your regrets, your rage, and you didn't collapse. Now you trust yourself. That trust is the foundation of your empire, not money, not status. Self-trust. The certainty that you will do what needs to be done, even when it's hard, even when no one sees it. From here, your growth compounds, your skills improve, your discipline sharpens, your decisions become long-term. You stop chasing quick validation and start building lasting leverage, financial stability, mental resilience, physical strength, strategic relationships. You're no longer trying to be liked. You're trying to be effective. And effectiveness changes how the world responds to you. Opportunities appear, not because of luck, but because you're prepared. People treat you differently, not because you demanded respect, but because your presence signals boundaries. You speak less. But when you speak, it carries weight. You promise less. But what you promise, you deliver. You don't rush. Rushed people make emotional decisions. You move with calm precision. Even under pressure, your face doesn't reveal chaos. Inside, you may feel intensity. Outside, you are controlled. That control is power. And here's where revenge transforms. In the beginning, you wanted to prove them wrong. Show them what they lost. Make them regret underestimating you. That fire pushed you forward, but it cannot be your final fuel. These civilized people, because revenge tied to people still gives them control over your motivation. You outgrow that. Your focus shifts from watch me to build me. You don't need them to see. You don't need them to regret. Your success is no longer a message to them. It's a responsibility to yourself. That's the highest level of power, indifference. Not hatred, not obsession. Indifference. The past loses emotional charge. Those faces, those memories, those betrayals become stories, not wounds. Lessons, not chains. You walk past. What once broke you without feeling pulled back. That's freedom. Now your empire is not just external, it's internal. Your mind obeys you. Your emotions report to you. Your habits serve you. You are no longer divided inside. No more wanting growth but choosing comfort. No more knowing better but doing worse. Alignment. Your actions match your vision. Your standards match your goals. Your circle matches your direction. That alignment creates momentum, people, and momentum creates results that look like overnight success to people who never saw the years of silent work. Let them be confused. They only see the crown. They never see the scars under it. But you know the nights you wanted to quit. The days you felt invisible. The moments you almost went back to what was familiar just to escape the pressure. These civilized people, you remember choosing discipline when emotions begged for relief. That's why your success feels different. It's not luck, it's earned. And now, when life hits you again, because it will, you don't crumble. You don't spiral. You don't beg the world to be fair. You adjust. You adapt. You move. Pain is no longer an enemy. It's information. Feedback. A signal to evolve again. That's the final transformation. You stop asking life to be easier. You become harder. Not cruel. Not heartless. Just unbreakable. You can still care. Still love. Still feel. But you never again abandon yourself to keep someone else comfortable. You never again shrink your vision to fit into someone else's limitations. Your empire is built on self-respect, and self-respect changes everything. People can leave. You remain. Opportunities can fail. You rebuild. The world can turn cold. You stay disciplined. Because you are no longer the person who was shaped by the past. You are the one who used it as fuel. So let them talk about how you changed. Let them say you became distant, serious, different. They're right. Fire doesn't leave things the same. It turns wood into ash, and it turns pressure into steel. You walked through the fire, and now you are the empire.